I get your opinion on this. I think this is a mistake I sometimes make, is I end up trying to pour into some of the people lower in the organization as well.
I used to, because you want to, because you also see yourself in them sometimes.
Yeah, I see
such.
that they've got the drive or the energy for it or whatever it is.
I don't pour. So what I do is I'm very...
or I always try and G them up a bit, if that makes sense.
That's dangerous, because then they get prideful when they're low, right? But what I would do is I would give them little tasks, and based on like... So I think the rarest skill set that I found in business is spotting talent. I don't know what the word would be, but the ability for people to be like, that guy's got it. And so I remember Iman and I on an interview once, 30 people in this group interview. And the way we did it was we would send everyone to the waiting room after we did some intros, and instantly we both picked the one person that we knew was like the best person on that call. I think talented people can spot talented people, but it's a very hard... 99% of people I've met don't have that skill set, because you have to just rep it out. Like, you have to hire a lot of people to see. Even my CRO dude, he'll be like, this guy's great. I'll be like, no, this is going to happen. And I'll let him make the mistakes. I'll let him bring them on, and then the thing happens and he learns. But the only way to learn why someone's not going to work out is to have that happen to you, you know? And so you've hired so many times at this point, you should hire more, but you've hired so many times that you know where you're going to get burned from different people. You can see the seeds from the very beginning. So what I do on the low level guys, I don't want to say low level, but the beginner or starter entry roles, is I'll give them responsibilities, and I'll just see how they act. Like, I'll be like, instead of pouring into them, I'll just send him a Slack and be like, hey bro, I feel like, you know, can you do me a favor? Can you hit this? And it could be out of their job spec completely, but based on how they do that, like how hard do they try, how much attention to detail do they put in it, like all these little things, I'll be like, no, not worth pouring into, or like, maybe I give them a little more. And eventually, sometimes they end up in the circle, you know? And so it's not that I pour in, it's that I give tests, you know, and based on how they do with the tests, maybe a little more test and more test and more test. But you don't want to pour into the low guys. You got to pour into 6 guys. If you pour into everybody, bro, think about a team of 50 people. If you pour into every single person, you're giving 2% of yourself to every single person. That's not going to get you anywhere. If you pour into 6 people, they each get 10%. If you pour into 4 people, now they're each getting 15, whatever the math is. But the more percentage you can give to people, the faster you can duplicate yourself. The faster you duplicate yourself, the faster the business grows. And so imagine for a second, if you took yourself, duplicated yourself 4 times, and then each of those 4 people are 4xing themselves, 2 layers down, you have 16 versions of you. You know, that it's the hardest thing in the world to do, but that's the game. Rather than taking this entire group and trying to make them more like you focus on small groups, and then they focus on small groups. And that's the process I've seen people do to win.
I couldn't agree with that more. Something I've learned drastically the last 6 months. In 2024, I think I've noticed a bit of a culture shift in terms of, I think a lot of it's I've almost called like Alex Hormozy effect, where a lot of people trying to go pretty heavy in personal brand. What do you think is the big play for the next 6 months, 12 months? In my opinion, I think some people sometimes are missing some of the paid ad stuff now, because everyone's thinking like, oh, I need to go make YouTube ads. I need to go
you and I
YouTube. I need to do
alike,
IG.
dude.
I need to do like, whereas I'm like, I'm doing that. We're making a podcast right now, but like, I'm also like trying to scale up paid ads, get our tracking dialed in higher, so like get a like outbound team like nailing it.
Outbound's hard in this world, dude. Outbound's the one thing that we're like, I doubt you do outbound. You mean calling leads?
We do, cold calling leads.
Like, wait,
well, they're not cold because they're opting in on.
Okay, so I'm huge on wording. We will never use the word cold calling in our departments unless you're calling people that have never heard of us. Okay. So if they opt in, I call that a warm call. And the reason for it is people bitch about cold calls. But just reprogramming how you talk about it and saying like, hey, bro, we actually warm call our leads because they all know who we are already, right? It's different than, hey, I'm working from Blink's office, and they're like, who the fuck is that kind of thing? Yeah. And so I know it sounds crazy. If you stop saying cold calling, your team will completely change like overnight in how they approach the lead conversations. But anyway, so I think that everyone follows trends, meaning 2 years ago, everything was about Facebook ads. Everything was about Facebook ads. And right now it's about AI, and there's always like the trends, but in specific, it's almost always organic versus ads is like the two things that go back and forth. And I think Iman started the phase. Everyone started to see how that blew up. And then Hormozy, of course, blew up. And so I think everyone's pushing the content stuff now. They don't even know why. Like they have no idea how it actually will help them in their business, but they're just pushing content. And I talked to Eddie about this, and ad costs go down. And so everyone's like running over here. I don't know if you've seen it, but editor costs, like every editor thinks that they're so much more valuable than they are now because they're becoming this like commodity, and ads are getting less expensive. And so my game personally is you can do one of two things. you can play the opposite, meaning like, when no one's doing organic, then you do organic. And when no one's doing ads, then you do ads. Or you can just pick one thing and just fucking do it. As many times as people go back and forth, you just stay there. It's almost like buying a stock and just never selling it versus trying to buy the dips and sell the dips and such. Iman, when content wasn't cool, and when it is cool, is still doing content. Hormozi, when ads are it and not it, he's still doing them as well as content. So I think the one thing people do is they go back and forth too much to where they actually never put the time in to make either one work. And that's why you see people like spin for so long, and just because they don't go all in on one thing for long enough. Does that make sense? I guarantee, bro, 90% of people probably doing content right now, you won't 100%. See them again in 6 months, 3 months. Content's such a long burn. No one's going to wait that long.
Dude, I've made 7,000 posts on Instagram, maybe.
Damn, I made 13 or 14. I have a short-term account, short-form account, maybe like 40 there or something.
And it's a repeated effect of like compound things over time, over time.
Yeah. So you said you're watching the YouTube videos. The reason I'm doing a daily video every single day, missing sometimes because the travel stuff, bro, is hard. Doing a daily video when like our Wi-Fi at our villa is not good, and so we're trying to play out the fact that he's editing and videoing, and we can't upload to our other editor, and so it's like, anyway. But the reason I'm doing it every day, I talked to Rob about this. So Rob has 800 YouTube videos, is what he said. If you do the 1 a week sync that most people do for content, like every editing agency is, we'll help you with 1 video a month or 1 video a week or such. 1 video a week, there's 52 weeks in a year. To get to where Rob is, that would take, 2 years, 8 years? Am I math right? 8 years. And bro, no one is going to make videos for 8 years. Let me rephrase. 99.999% of the person watching this that's like, no, I will. No, you won't. No one makes content for that long for no return. The reason I'm doing it for every single day, and the reason it's important too, is because when you're 300 videos in, just like you said with Eddie, or not with Eddie, with Hormozi, when you're 300 videos in and someone finds you, they have a bank of stuff that they can watch from you. If you do 1 video a week, it takes forever to create that bank. It takes so long for you to get to the point where you have 20 videos. Someone finds your stuff. You've only been at it for 3 months. You have like 10 videos, 8 videos or so. The reason I'm doing a video every single day, even though it's treacherous, is because I'm trying to expedite how fast I create that bank. If I can get to the point where I have 100 videos and it only takes 3 months, I've skipped years worth of work. Does it make sense?
Bro, I did this exact thing at the start of the year, and we did, I think, 45, 50 days in a row of a video every single day.
It's brutal. And
it's hard, particularly like when traveling. So I remember I was in Miami for a while. I was like, this is a pain in the ass. And then we ended up stopping because the videos were starting to step on each other a lot, in terms of like a video starts to push, next one comes out, cuts the other one. But we now have enough videos that we're starting to spread them out a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do it forever. The reason I did it was Casey Neistat, bro. Do you know who Casey Neistat is?
I wanted to keep doing it because I quite enjoyed it. It was like a weird sadistic challenge.
I would actually still say you probably should, because Casey did it for 700 something days, grew 10 million subs in that 10 million in that 700 something days. His career he will attribute to the daily vlog. I generally think. And, I was talking to somebody about this, really smart content guy. I can't remember who it was, but essentially saying that if you put 1 week's worth of effort into one video rather than 1 day's worth of video into a video every single day, the 1 week stuff will do better. So if you look at Iman, I don't know what sync Iman's on right now. It's probably 1 every 2 weeks, 1 every month or so. It's not 1 a week like it was, to my understanding. He has the audience where he can do that. He has the brand power, the followers, the amount of videos in the back. But for most people, I think realistically, just sheer volume is the only
blunt force.
That's all I'm doing, bro. Like, you can ask them. It is just like, we are just gonna push. I don't care if one video doesn't perform nearly as well as it could, because I'm uploading another one, because I know that long term wise, I'm gonna win for it. I feel like if you're spacing out the amount of volume you're putting out for one video to possibly perform marginally better, you're like taking incremental like 4%, 10% gains or so to lose on the amount of compounding effect that you get on doing the daily stuff. Does it make sense?
100%.
It's also when you get into I'm finally getting this phase when they're daily videos, it becomes a lot easier than when you're like, oh, I have to do a video today. And like,
it's a bit like having taken sales call for a while, right?
Yeah,
you're rusty.
Exactly. Well, it's even just the wavelength that you're on, like I'm kind of always in content mode now, to where it's not like I'm thinking about it, right? And I'm just like, okay, I can do this. But if I go out and then get back into it, it's not that I'm rusty. It's just like I have to change wavelengths, and I don't like changing wavelengths. It's probably the thing that slows me down the most. So
How do you structure your content and filming over a week then if you're producing this much content now whilst running a business? Because that's something that a lot of people struggle with, including myself. So like the way I'll try and structure it, normally I'd never film anything on a Monday. Monday for me, I've had like 5 hours of Zoom calls before this. I'll just try and be like bang on like team meetings and setting everything up for the week. How do you do that in terms of what you're looking to try and do?
So you've seen my content for the most part. It's like Zoom calls and stuff, right? And what last week, 2 weeks ago, I don't know. I tried to do something different, which is where I did calls Thursday and Friday, Monday through Wednesday was content and deep work and scripting, whatever. And I hated it, bro. I actually hated having days that were completely geared toward content. Because if you're the guy, right now thinking about the content, I don't have someone helping me ideate on it and such. And I don't need one yet. I just thought it was unproductive. So I personally like my content to be specifically around what I'm doing, and so my kind of role, like he knows this, you will never see me post for a photo unless we're doing like a photo for the podcast or something. I will never post for a photo. I will never change what I'm doing for content. I don't like the sit down style content. If it's not for me, like the daily bread, little like things I do for myself, those are for me to watch in the future. So I'm totally down to do a video journal for myself. I did one on sales principles the other day and it just felt like I was wasting my time. And so my content specifically is just journaling what I'm doing throughout that day. And I could watch it in 2 years and be like, oh fuck, bro. Like, why did I do that? That was so stupid. I think most people think about content as they need to educate and sit down and do the Iman Gadzhis style, Hermosi style, sit down videos where you're teaching something. That's a very different type of content that I want to get into personally. What kind of content do you do?
Combination of education and then like daily vlogs. So like, but what I like to do is almost like education. So like when I'm in Dubai, we'll do cool shit of like me going to the gym, driving around a supercar, like whatever, but mixing in education, teaching stuff throughout the day. And
that's
also,
what I
like,
wanted to do.
A blend of like fitness stuff, because obviously that's my background, like supplements to take, what I do in the gym.
So then why does it take more? Why can't you do that on Monday?
I could do that on Monday. Well, we're filming it today for a vlog, so that's an example.
Because then you just take some clips of Zoom calls, bro, and people are like, "Oh fuck, I feel like I'm actually there with him, dude."
I think that's probably where sometimes I'm very open with a lot of things, but some of our business stuff I don't want to show some of the calls where I could probably put clips of things in.
Yeah, that's so. I screen every single video, and I'll usually tell them like, "Hey, from like on this call, there's a good part where I talk about this, or he talks about this, or whatever." And so I'm totally with you. Especially with my clients, there's a lot of like stuff that we don't want to talk about on YouTube, right?